Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Strength Agenda Radio. I have no idea what episode we're on. I'm going to throw out a lucky guess and say we're on 17. My name
So
is
close.
what am I? What is it actually?
18.
Oh man,
So close, man. That
so
was
close.
good.
It's kind of like horseshoes and hand grenades. That's the only time close count. Um,
Right.
my name is Tom Soroka, the beautiful gentleman wearing that nice cream colored hoodie to the left of me. You're right. I don't know. Maybe I'm dyslexic in that sense too. Flip that around.
No,
It's
you're good.
John Ziegler. John, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, buddy.
I decided to be one of those people that can't take my Christmas tree down yet. Actually, what happened was I couldn't get a new background to pop up. So you're stuck with the Christmas tree in the vintage weightlifting hall for at least another week until I can sort out my Zoom backgrounds. But how's the holiday been? I know we got to see each other last week for a little
We
bit.
did, which was cool.
We podcasted with Ben, which was awesome. That's when I
That
knew
was
it,
great.
reminding me that we have a podcast we're doing right now. Um, how was the holiday for you guys? Like what are some holiday traditions, the happenings in the Ziegler household?
Yeah, and so we always go to Rachel's folks because they're right over,
Yeah.
not far from us. Go over there in the morning, watch, everybody unwraps gifts, hang out for a little bit, then come back home, take a nap, and then go back, in the evening. But we do have an interesting tradition that I started a couple years ago where we have Nerf gun wars in the morning. This year we didn't. So this year I went a different route with it. I was like, let's do laser tag wars. Uh, which was fun in its own right, but I think it just like Nerf gun wars are just a whole different animal. So
Oh,
we'll go
okay.
back. Yeah, we'll go back to the Nerf gun wars next year. But yeah, so that's kind of our like the holiday tradition. We went to Rachel's mom always likes to get an activity for everybody to go do together. This year we went to one that was maybe not totally age appropriate for the nephews. It's been a topic of conversation for a couple weeks. It was a cabaret. Um, yeah.
No, those kids enjoy the shit out of that.
Oh, they to an extent. I think some of it was a little over their head, but it was fun. So we did that, and then New Year's we
Those
watched the finale of Stranger Things, and yeah, and then pass out, and then of course the college football playoffs were the last couple days, and Oregon blanked Texas,
congrats.
blanked them.
I was not expecting that. I was hoping for a good game, but it was not. Like surprisingly, I was surprised at the game of the block. There were the four games going on. I would have thrown a dart, and every time it would not have landed on Ole Miss and Georgia being the game of the whole thing. Like
Yeah,
I was not expecting Miami to put a hurting on Ohio State like they did. Wasn't mad about it because it's Ohio State, but it was one of those like I don't like either team. So like if they would have tied and
yeah.
somehow lost, I would have been okay. I wasn't expecting Oregon to blank Texas Tech like they did. Was not expecting. I mean, I was hoping for it. Like truly, that was the one I was really like not surprised and super hopeful for, but just figured it wasn't going to happen. But Indiana absolutely railroading Alabama, and then
So bad.
That Georgia Ole Miss game was awesome. I love the fact that Ole Miss is winning despite Lane Kiffin not being there. So it was.
Yeah, the thing I felt about the Alabama game was when I saw like that massive lopsided score, I was like, and here is where every Notre Dame fan comes in and was
Yeah, no,
like, like you guys just put this team because I'm sorry, Alabama did not deserve to be in the college football playoffs, not over Notre Dame, like not at all. Miami's proving that they belong.
yeah.
Uh,
And
I think.
I am willing to admit that. Like I've had a couple people come at me and be like, "Oh, what do you got to say now?" I was like, "Nothing. You're 100% correct. I have nothing to say about Miami." But I have also said from the start that I thought both Miami and Notre Dame should have been in over Alabama. That was
Yes,
that,
Alabama had no business being in the college football play, and it just goes to show how overrated like the SEC is
oh,
held.
that whole thing. I mean, I think somebody posted a graphic. They're now like the only teams that they have beaten in the college. They have three wins, and they're against power. They're against non-power fours and the SEC. Like those are the only teams the SEC has beaten in the bowl season so far. And I'm just like, I don't want to hear about your bias anymore. This is what happens when everybody gets to pay their players now. So, anyways.
Yep.
But yeah, no, that's awesome. Did you go to I don't know if you heard me. Did you go to the theater to see the Stranger Things finale?
No, uh-uh.
Okay, apparently that's a thing. I don't understand why
Oh,
you would
wow.
watch it on Netflix, but such is life. But
What
yeah,
about you?
oh, I was boring. I mean, I got to see my family and stuff like that. We have our holiday traditions. We go to the
Yeah.
zoo, and I enjoy the zoo. I love the zoo. I've been to like I was talking about with one of my other clients. I've been to like 9 or 10 different zoos across the country. I just love.
Nice.
And so I got to go around there with my nephew. I'm going to put Brookfield Zoo on blast a little bit though, because
Hmm.
this is like the eighth or ninth year that we've done this. And this was the first time like more than half of the zoo was closed, like even outdoor enclosures, like they had them gated off.
Wow.
They had a lot of the indoor things, like, and it was good weather. Like it was reasonably warm for Chicago and for around
Yeah.
Christmas time. But like they had like half of the zoo closed off, and I thought that was kind of a ripoff if you were charged because
Mm.
for those that don't know, they do zoo lights, and it's after like 3 p.m. They open the zoo up and they turn on all the lights, and Christmas music is playing, and you get to walk the zoo, see animals, and the cool light displays. We have a tree that we always decorate in honor of my dad who passed a couple years ago, and so it's always a good time with our family. But like, yeah, half of the zoo was closed, so we ended up leaving by like 6:30, something
Wow.
along those lines. Like we did everything that was in there, and I've got
Right. Yeah.
two nephews and a niece, and they were getting tired and hungry, so we went home and stuff. But other than that, no, or New Year's Eve, I texted you like the next day because I didn't make it.
We didn't either.
I watched the football game and then I fell asleep. Or I watched the football game, watched a movie, and then when the movie was over, it was about 10:30 and I fell asleep.
Yeah, that's us. I sleep by 10:30.
I was like, cool. So yeah, no, it's just been kind of, New Year, same shenanigans as always. And it's just kind of one of those situations where I feel like you and I were talking a little bit about this last week. Like as I get older, it's not as much about like the resolutions in terms of like this is going to be like my new opportunity. And I've been talking about with a bunch of people and stuff like that. It's kind of just the older I get, the more the new year, time period becomes more of just like a reflection, like
Hmm.
a self-assessment, so to speak. Because I feel I'm a firm believer, especially, recently, the last few years, that everybody needs to be doing self-assessments. I call them staff meetings, which my therapist absolutely hates because she says it makes me sound like I'm psychotic having staff meetings with myself. But just kind of I do like a once a quarter check-in with myself and just kind of evaluate like, hey, what are things that went well this quarter? What are things that did not go well this quarter? What
Yeah.
are things to work on? And I feel like New Year's just gives you the time because a lot of places aren't open. There's not a lot of work going on per se. Like a lot of people have off with the regular 9 to 5s and stuff like that. It just gives you that like built-in
Space.
time.
Yeah.
And so that's really all I've been doing for the last probably 2 days. And just kind of like reassessing things like, the stuff that you and I have talked about. There's not been a lot of work getting done, but it's been needed. Just been kind of just sitting here, just excuse me, doing the thing.
Yeah.
And so, but then we've got a lot of stuff going on. Like I feel like the mass exodus has ended. We hunted
Hmm.
everybody to the app, which has been interesting to say the least. Um, it also was it exposed a couple people to their training schedules based on when they were messaging. Like because every time I'd get an email from you, or not, I'd get an email saying somebody has been added to this group, and I'm like, oh, it's Wednesday, and you're just now getting into your training for the week. All right, that's interesting. But I feel like we are done with that for the most part, which has been a major
Yeah.
headache. So that's been always nice. Getting everybody on in one location, getting them on the app and stuff like that. The feedback mostly has been positive, a few critiques and stuff like that, which we are expecting. With that being said, if you have not done so yet, it has been posted about a couple times. It has been on the newsletter. Get on the holiday sale thing, get into the app. We still have the 7-day free trial if you want to try that. There's a lot of positive feedback on
Yeah.
before we got on. I was just talking to John. I've added one more program, and I'm in the process of adding a second program. My personal goal for the new year is to try to get a new program once a month added on there, and I'm already 2 ahead of schedule. So, but just trying to add more functionality in terms of the programming available to the everyday training side of the app. So you just have
Yeah.
more access.
Yeah.
back on the macro calculator and the rep calculator. People are absolutely loving those. And I keep 100% passing those flowers off to John saying, here's John's, email. Here's John's social. Go tag him and like let him know that you like it because he's the one that built those things out. So just publicly, once again, giving you your flowers on those two functionalities
Thanks, buddy.
because I actually started using the macro calculator just because I fully cleared getting back into training and stuff like that. So I just have to be a little bit more dialed in with what and when I eat certain things. So I've been using it as well for myself, and I actually like it a lot. I'll post my own content on that. But what else? Is there anything else that I missed that we've got either coming up that's going to be?
Yeah. So, let's see. The Everyday Intensity program is back on there for people who are looking for that. We've got the Everyday Affiliate option that's on there as well. So if you're looking for programming for your gym, we've got our take on it, which I think is dude, that's so good. Which I think, we take a little bit more of that idea of like, hey, there should be dedicated strength programming inside of your training routine for your gym members. Because we've talked about this and we're gonna have to do a whole thing on it at some point in time. But the people that I talk to that are doing CrossFit and their gym is using the Strength Agenda affiliate programming, they'll be like, how hard should I go on the strength portion, or should I sandbag the strength portion to be able to try and do more inside of the Metcon? And my answer is like, don't sandbag your strength portion. The strength portion makes you a better athlete. The Metcon, makes you a stronger athlete, which is going to make you better in the Metcon. However, you're not going to PR your deadlift inside of a Metcon. Um, the recent thing I kind of pointed out to somebody is I could take a strength athlete, and in 6 months, they could run a marathon,
Yeah.
right? 100%. I can take a strength athlete, and in 6 months, they may not like me, they may not like it in general, but you're going to be hard pressed to find anybody who can take somebody with a 200-pound deadlift and in 6 months push that over 400 pounds.
Yes, thank you for saying that. Thank you for advocating for that because that has probably been one of my biggest like headaches as a strength coach is like I get asked all the time, a similar conundrum is like, do you want to take somebody that is already strong with terrible technique or somebody that has terrible technique or has excellent technique and is not that strong? And I will take the strong individual any day of the week. Um, Strength is transferable. Stronger athlete is always the better athlete. But then when it comes to like fitness and stuff like that, and I've seen this myself now, like the first time I got into grid, and then you and I've had a conversation about this a couple times too. Like the
Yep.
first time when I got into grid, I was full on weightlifting. I was 330 pounds or whatever. I had to drop a lot of weight, or I intended on dropping a lot of weight and stuff like that. And I ended up doing so. But like the fitness, like I would say, and you can add your own, moniker to this, but like I personally tell people to get a baseline cardiovascular fitness level down, it's going to take an athlete about 6 weeks. I feel like if you're doing it the right way, you're monitoring, you're changing it up between like the intervals, the chippers, the short bursts, the longer duration stuff, and mixing it up and getting your recovery in and staying on top of all of that stuff, you can establish a pretty good cardio base
Yeah.
in about 6 weeks. And like I have tested this out multiple times now with myself because like I get into spurts where I'm like high on the cardio and then I get into spurts where I am not. The first time I ever did it, I told you was how I found out about CrossFit was when I was getting ready for that 5K.
Yeah.
And I decided I started doing main site after my lifting or whatever, and I had like 5 weeks to get in some sort of running shape for a 5K, just so my lungs wouldn't burst. And I was able to do so just doing a Metcon, 3 to 4 times a week and stuff like that. But the same thing with the grid, and I was able to maintain my strength and stuff. So like that's probably the thing. And like I have run that affiliate program, currently just doing the Metcons because I need to get myself, I need to get some functional movement back into my day to day here. But I'm still doing knocking out the Metcons and stuff like that. I just did the AMRAP 9 with the Bear Complex one on Tuesday, and my upper back is still loving that. But it's just one of those like, yeah, I appreciate that in the program there are the dedicated strength days, and I like how you have it set up with the upper push. You have the lower pull, lower push, the skill day, the partner day. The partner day is something that I'm kind of jealous about because I don't know anybody do the partner workouts with.
Right. Yeah.
But like it just I like how you have it set up and split up, and I've seen the notes and everything like that. Like you have taken your time and mapped it out and everything in terms of saying like, hey, if you have this going on, this is what I recommend for this. Similar to how I do with the weightlifting programming. So it's just
Yeah.
uniform across the board. So if you have a gym or you know a gym that would be interested in have them reach out to John or I, we'll get you set up on that because I think that is another great resource that we know is tested and is going to be effective, is efficient, and it's just one less thing that you guys have to worry about.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's, I agree with you, by the way. I usually tell people, I'm like, you can take time off. I use it in the take time off span, right? You can take time off from like your cardio work, so doing Metcons, and come back, and in about 6 to 8 weeks, pretty much be back to where you want to be. Like pretty much, right? Depending on how long you've taken. If you've taken like 3 years off, like you're not going to get back to where you were. But if you take a little time off. However, strength is not the same,
Hmm.
right? You're not going to take time off from strength training and then come back and get back to where you were in like 8 weeks. It's so much harder to build strength than it is to build cardiovascular conditioning that, you have to you have to sell out in your strength training. Like you can't sandbag strength training to try and improve cardio and expect to see the gains in your strength that you would if you dedicated your strength portion to really pushing to get the numbers and the reps that you need and the volume. And then, you're tired, but you go into the Metcon a little fatigued from your strength training and you push as hard as you can. Like you're still going to get, better conditioning. So anyway, there's that, and then we talk about injuries creating opportunities for uh, making things. So I've been dealing with a shoulder thing, so I've been using a gym out here called The Box, which is a gym that's
Cool.
attached to a CrossFit gym. And so if you're in the Chicago area, right, come check out The Box. Phenomenal gym, absolutely phenomenal, really cool aesthetic, small, intimate gym. You don't have a bunch of lunkheads, like they don't have a ton of 16-year-old kids in there like taking up equipment. But as a result of the injury that's got me in there, uh, we're now almost done developing like an everyday hypertrophy program.
Oh,
Right. So that'll be done and added to the app for people that are just looking for, hey man, I want to go into, my local bodybuilding gym and have something to do that's going to produce results and it's fun. And each workout takes anywhere between an hour 15 or so to do from beginning to end. So that's also added in there. All right, moving on.
moving on. All right, today's topic. With the new year, everybody with their New Year's resolutions and stuff like that, and personal stuff that I've encountered this week. I thought it'd be a good time to talk about haters in particular. It's just one of those situations where, like, you and I have had conversations a lot about social media content in terms of like content is king, especially with these platforms now. Like we've got like, I mean, it just us alone, like we're not even doing all of the platforms. And I feel like we're running, 5 or 6 different platforms in terms of social media content right now, right? We've got the Facebook page, we've got the Instagram page, we've got both of our personal Instagram pages, plus we have the website, plus we have the YouTube channel. I sometimes will cross post business stuff on the TikTok page and my own personal TikTok page and stuff like that. Like it's a lot in terms of the social media and content and the stuff that we are constantly putting out. But with that comes the darker side of content creation and stuff like that. And I feel like 2020 and the lockdown that occurred, I really brought this to a head in terms of like people that are just angry elves, like they just want to comment. They just feel like they need to express their opinion. They need to say whatever it is that is on their mind. And so And what made it worse was because we were all locked down or whatever, people could say whatever they wanted behind a keyboard, and there was no consequences for actions. There was no consequences for some of the heinous shit that people were saying. And so I feel like that it's gotten a little better over time, but I still feel like in particular, it's kind of stayed at an even keel here. And so what kind of brought this on was the Grid League posted a video of me running one of their snatch ladders. And the Grid League is one of those situations where I enjoy the league. I like competing in it. I like doing it. It's cool to watch, but they definitely flirt with the line of movement standards. Like there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the league that just it would not pass in CrossFit for one reason or another. But
Sure. Yeah.
they're not doing it for a CrossFit standard, right? They're doing it for a entertainment, for a speed component of their sport.
Yeah.
And so it was a snatch ladder, and the rules had never said anything about muscle snatching. They literally say any snatch style goes, whether you power it, squat, muscle, whatever, they don't care. And so I was dealing with my Achilles injury at the time, so I muscle snatched the whole ladder. And it was one of those situations where I've also been weirdly good at muscle snatching my entire like weightlifting career. It's the one thing I know, like if like my technique is just not there, I know I can if as long as it's not a weightlifting meet, I know I can muscle it and get it going. And just the amount of comments that were like on there, and the people, and the one thing that always blows my mind is when somebody comments on a post and they leave their profile open. Like usually those kinds of comments come from private profiles and you can't do anything. But like if you I'm warning you now, if like you comment on my stuff or you comment on business stuff, because the other thing we were talking about beforehand, I get a lot of comments on the business page too, about people's technique or how they shouldn't be doing this or a topic that we posted that they don't agree with or whatnot. I go and I look at your profile and I see like if you have a pot to piss in. And 90% of the time you do not. Like there was one gentleman in particular who was really like laying in about, you know, my form and my technique and how even what I was doing was not a muscle snatch and all this other stuff. And it was funny because I was talking to you about the Facebook page, and there was a 17-year-old kid in there that was just owning people on the Facebook page. Like people were like talking shit, and then the 17-year-old, our friend requested him, sent him a message, and I was just like, "Hey man, I appreciate you," or whatever, because he's on the LSUS weightlifting team, and I know the coach.
Okay.
And I was just laughing because that kid was going in there. He was just like, stopping and slowing down are not the same thing. And I was just like, this is phenomenal. Like, he is just like, to have that kind of wisdom and maturity to
Yeah.
to
Right.
somebody without like resorting to name calling is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those like I like the one guy in particular who's just like really harping on form. He posts a lot. He works with people, coaches, athletes, and stuff like that. And I'm watching how he both performs and coaches box squats, and I'm like, buddy, like let's not throw stones in a glass house type thing. And so kind of wanted to talk today about, kind of for people who might be getting onto, social media, like either for the first time or re-engaging and stuff like that, just giving them some kind of pointers in terms of how to navigate this stuff, things to expect, things not to expect, because um, uh, uh, when I first started the business page, I was very cautious about the types of things to post. I didn't want to post not perfect lifts simply because I didn't want backlash that like, oh, this isn't a serious program or like these athletes
Right. Yeah.
are allowed to do whatever they do and stuff like that, and they don't get corrected because first and foremost, you have no idea what conversations go on behind scenes. Second off, social media, no matter who is running it, what is getting posted, I don't care what another person says when they're like, this is the raw, real, unedited. No, it's not. Social media is strictly a highlight reel. You are only going to see the positives. You will see a little bit of negative from time to time. But when it comes to people's personal pages and stuff like that, it's mostly going to be a highlight reel or their greatest hits on.
Yeah.
So
You know, I
I
go
just
ahead.
wanted to take time. Yeah, I just wanted to see, get your kind of your thoughts on, where that has gone, where that has evolved to, and then just talk about some things to help people in terms of like how to navigate that, what to is all right to engage with, what is okay to ignore, and when it's okay to straight up just block somebody and just
Yeah.
get that negative energy out of your life.
So it's funny that this is the topic that we're talking about today because so Rachel and I watch like are going through old episodes of NCIS. I don't know if you've ever watched that show,
Yeah. Yes.
right? It's a great show. It's like the perfect evening and wind down show combo of like you get the who done it aspect and some comedy and camaraderie. So we- literally an episode we watched in just the last few days that somebody was talking about social media and they're like everything you see on social media is everybody's A side,
Yeah.
right? It's the A side of their record. It's the best part of the album that they have, and they're putting that out there for everybody to see. And what they're not showing you is the B side. Like the track that like they don't care if it ever sees the light of day. It's not going to be on the radio. Like nobody's going to ever really think it was their best work. Um, and so I think, it's important to remember that when you're on social. The other thing that I have seen become a trend with social media is that negativity, right? So hammering somebody else, like another coach or another athlete or what have you, um, that is a way I think people are attempting to market themselves. Like they
100%.
go into, another coach's page and they're like, "Oh, well, your athletes don't have good form." And all to your point, all they're posting on their coach's page is like the best lifts that their people can make. But here's the thing about that, right? And it's interesting because we've been to some competitions where you have people that have made it to high level stages that bomb out on those stages,
Yeah.
right? And then you go back and you're like, well, I'm really curious what this program or what this coach like what they're doing because I'm sure this is an anomaly or what have you. And you go to their page and it's like all their highlight reels and everything looks perfect. And then you see the people lift in person and you're like, what is happening?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Right? Like what's going on? So
There's that one coach in particular. I'm not going to name names. They know who they are. Where they literally made their name by dogging people on social media. But then when you go to their business page, it's nothing but that individual's list because that individual has competed at the national level multiple times. Been on podiums and stuff like that, been in contention for national teams. But their business page is just them lifting, and then you go to the meets and you watch their athletes, and you're like, oh, okay. And then you hear about this guy, poaching lifters and things along those lines, and you're just like, come on, man.
dude,
So yeah, it just
so and this is kind of one of those interesting things, and this devolves a little bit from the social media, but I want
yeah,
to throw out there is, you know, people go to these like coaches like you're talking about,
yeah,
who you go to their page and they're these amazing lifters and they've been to nationals, they've been to worlds, they're just incredible lifters, right? That doesn't translate to being a good coach.
no,
Um, but it does tend to translate into like oftentimes having an ego, right? And also not developing the clear understanding of how to develop other people because those athletes have worked with high level coaches
yeah,
for years and years to develop their skill set. They didn't do that in a bubble in their garage,
nope,
right? And my kind of example of this is like Bill Belichick and Tom Brady won a boatload of Super Bowls,
mhm,
right? An obnoxious amount together. Go back and look at Bill Belichick's football career as a player, right? As a
oh,
player.
did he play? I know he played college. I don't know. Did he ever make it to the NFL?
I don't believe so. Somebody will probably correct me and tell me I'm wrong, but he wasn't a high level player. He wasn't Tom Brady. He wasn't like any of the other guys on the team who were high level Pro Bowl players, but he could develop people,
Yeah.
right? And then you see people who played in the NFL who transition into being coaches and they can't develop a ball boy, right?
Oh,
Um, So anyway, that kind of takes that sidetrack. But let's talk about social because
I mean,
social media to me always brings back the Mike Tyson statement, right? Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
yeah,
And there's a lot of people online that have never been forced to face the consequences of saying something to somebody's face.
yeah, and I think that's probably my biggest issue with commenting on somebody. Like first and foremost, it's the whole like stone throwing stones in a glass house type
Hmm.
situation.
Yeah, for sure.
My rules of thumb for anybody that like is into this or whatever, like if you're doing it for just like clickbait, like we've talked about Andrew Hiller. We both know
Yeah,
him, we're friends with him. Um, do I necessarily care for his tactics? No. Is he wrong? 90% of the time, no, he's not. Like
right.
he's actually right in like the way he calls things out. But
100%.
I do respect Hiller because Hiller will say that stuff to your face. He doesn't
Yes.
hide behind his YouTube persona. He doesn't hide behind his social media or something. Like, because I've had conversations with him and we've laughed about it. Like, I tell him flat out, I'm like, sometimes like you piss me off, but I respect it because you'll say it to my face too. Like he gives me a hard time about my squatting depth in the grid league. I tell him flat out, I'm like, you're 100% right. I wouldn't count those as full depth squats, but the referee did at that time, so I took it and ran with it, kind of a situation. And that's I think the difference that people need to understand is if you're going to make a comment on
Yeah.
and I've had to learn this the hard way myself. Like I have commented on people's stuff and I have gotten into verbal, wars with folks on social media, whether it be Twitter or, Instagram comments or whatever. And then I've run into those individuals. You need to be able, like, if you're about to make a comment on somebody's stuff, you need to be able to say, would I say this to their face? And I feel like that would eliminate a lot of the problems. And unfortunately, we're still going to get this dynamic where people are not going to be honest about that, where they're going to say, hey, like,
Yeah.
I would say this to them. Like they're gonna be Billy Badass still behind the keyboard and then be a completely different person when it comes to, the full on, engagement in person and stuff. But I feel like that would solve a lot of problems. Like before you type something out, ask yourself, if I was standing in front of this person, would I say this to that individual? Mitchell Hooper's one that I like. I get blown away like professional strongman. Now, I'm not saying because somebody is big and strong, you shouldn't talk shit to them. I'm just blown away at the number of people because like I said, I click the profiles of the people that are commenting because I want to see. Powell Dwyer, you and I have shared back and forth a bunch of his stuff. Like he does what I think or what I do behind closed doors. Like he will click on your profile and be like, "Are you kidding me with this right now? Like
Yes.
you're gonna
This is
talk
you.
you're going to talk about this person's looks or this person's this or that, and then this is what you're bringing to the table. And it's not supposed to meant to be like a body shaming thing or a looks thing or whatever, but
No.
it's like a little of self-reflection before you go on that tirade would be really, really awesome.
Here's my take on this, right? Is it's the bully mentality.
Yes.
And the bully mentality stems from a massively high level of insecurity, right? Bullies aren't bullies because they know they're stronger than everybody. They know they're better than everybody. They know they're like greater than everybody. That's not why they're bullies. They're bullies because they're afraid of being exposed. They're bullies because if they know that if they let somebody see who they are,
Yeah.
right, then the truth is going to come out that they're not who they pretend to be, right? And so it's and you see that so much on social. You see people who like rail against things and then to your point, right, you look at their profile and you're like, "Come on, man. Like sincerely, this is the battlefield that you want to play on because in real life you're not playing on another battlefield. Like you don't have the capacity, the ability, the skill set, the stamina, nothing at all. And I'm not even talking about athletics anymore. I'm just talking about the because you brought up Pa Dwyer, right? And no matter what you think of him, and people may like him, may not like him, but I respect the fact that he calls those people out. And, you know, when people bash him for what I guess the term is virtue signaling or what have you, when like somebody starts bashing a woman for being too muscular, right?
Yeah.
Or too thick. And he's like, okay, well, let's take a look. And then you look, and it's like some toothless meth head dude living in, bumblefuck nowhere that girl doesn't get, it's never gonna give a shit about. The whole like he's stood up for like Danny Spiegel and people talking shit about Danny Spiegel. And he's like, let's take a look at this guy. And you look at him and you're like, that dude cannot even get anywhere near squatting what she can.
No.
Right. And so it's I think,
Women's wrestling, like at the from a sports entertainment standpoint, like WWE,
yeah,
that's another one that constantly blows my mind in terms of social media. Is like, and because you and I have been wrestling fans since we were kids and stuff,
oh yeah.
we've seen like the evolution of it. It has 100% gone from circus to like legitimate athletes, like
Hmm.
all the athletes or all the people that are in sports entertainment wrestling right now
Yeah.
are some of like the top athletes in the world. I don't care if it's scripted and all that stuff. Like you go do what they're doing, 300 days, out of the year, 200 based on whatever their schedule is and stuff like that.
Training camps, like,
They have no downtime, no off season. It is
no.
just constantly on the go. And they do that for like years at a time before they get a break. But like it still blows my mind with the female wrestlers. And again, people want to say that this is virtue signaling, and I don't care. But like they want to talk about their looks over their athletic performances. And it blows my mind that, and because again, you click on the profiles and you're like, really, this is what you're bringing to the table to have this conversation. It's one of those situations where social media has like you said, it has created the Mike Tyson complex where it's just like everybody's, ready to go until they get punched in the mouth kind of a situation. And so to kind of bring this back to the original topic or to the original point here, I just want to like kind of create, I don't know about create, but just help people with their social media in terms of like, when is it okay to engage? When is it not okay to engage? When is it okay to just straight up block people?
Yeah.
And then like just some things to keep in mind because like I talked about it before, like with the business page. I used to not post if there was like a little flicker in somebody's elbow or you know
Hmm.
their shoulders moved a little bit on a jerk or something along those lines, or like a clean, like they caught it a little low or whatever. Like that is sport, that is training, that is pushing your body to limits that you've never pushed them to before. And whether
Yeah.
it's somebody cleaning 50 kilos or it's somebody snatching 130 kilos, like it's just one of those situations where I want like the business page. Yes, we have things we're selling. We have products we're trying to get people to purchase. We're trying to get people to inquire about our services that we provide. But more than anything, the business page for me personally, and then I'll carry it over to my page,
Mm.
it is a celebration of the human beings that allow us to work with them on a regular basis. So no matter the accomplishment, big or small, like I'm going to post about it. And if you don't like it, that's great. But it's just one of those like I'm not gonna censor stuff anymore to make sure everything looks perfect, pristine, whatever. Now, yes, I like if there are egregious lifts, I am not posting those and sitting there being like, look at this PR attempt, training make like that those don't exist, by the way. But it's just one of those situations where like I just want to kind of help people um who might struggle with it because I mean, younger me, I like talking shit. That has been no secret to anybody that knows me or has interacted with me. And so like I constantly will get a comment on a social media post and I'll be like, I've got to pipe on this. I gotta say something back. And then I'll start to type it out and I'm like, you know what, is this really worth my time and energy? So just kind of wanted to go through that in terms of like what are like things that you think are okay to respond to, how to respond, and then like when is it okay to just straight up block people?
Yeah. Man, first of all, I think you got to talk about what you're posting,
Right.
right? I have a pretty solid rule in terms of what I do and do not post. If
Yes.
it's personal, it's not going online,
Mm.
right? It's the I saw this a long time ago and it stuck with me and I firmly believe this, and that is the best privacy rule for social media is if it's private, don't post it.
Yes.
Right. And the reason for that is and we just talked about like A and B side, and that would be considered B side. But I think there's some things that are too private and too personal in your life to
I agree.
throw out to the world. And when you do that, you're opening yourself up to feedback that is not helpful and it's not healthy and it's not going to do anything for you. And honestly, not everybody deserves to have that level of insight into your life. Like
100%.
like
Like every relationship that I'm in, that is like one of the first conversations I have is I say flat out, like I am very active on social media. I have a decent social media following. Like, what are you cool with me posting?
yeah.
You know, in regards to us. Like it's just those are conversations that just need to occur. Same thing with like my nieces and nephews. Like I try to not like I will post family stuff, but like I'm not posting like straight up like pictures of, you know, my like a close up of my niece's face on social media. I try not to. Like I'll put it on my story or something like that if it's something cute that happened, but that disappears in 24
Yeah.
hours, stuff like that. But yeah, no, I agree 100% in terms of like and I also find it interesting because like I know you're former military, and so I
Mhm.
feel like military folks have an even deeper like sense of like private and not, because those of you guys with like security clearances and things like that, there were just certain things you could not give people access to, let alone have a social media account of any kind. And so I feel like that adds a whole other layer to it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like, and going back to that whole privacy thing, I tell people like I have a onboarding email that I send out pretty much saying like, hey, I am going to use any and all, you know, content for promotion on the business page. You have to in this day and age. But I ask flat out, like, if there is something in particular or if there are certain things that you would like withheld, please let me know. And I have an athlete in particular, flat out says like, I want like I had a lifter that was they were embarrassed of their home training environment, which I personally didn't get, but I thought I respected it. They literally said they're like, I do not want my home posted on the business page. Like if you wouldn't post any of my training, you could post if I'm in a gym somewhere, if I'm, you know, on a competition platform, that's great. But like when I'm
Sure,
training
yeah.
basement, if you could not post that, that would be great. Awesome, cool. And because they said like they don't want to deal with the comments, they don't want to deal with like any feedback or, you know, critiques or what grilling or whatever the thing was. And I'm like, you know what, I got you. That's great. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's an interesting world because you are giving people access to your personal space, but it's only a snapshot.
Yeah. And I think if you're going to post something, right, and somebody comments. So if you post something and then somebody has a negative comment to it, and let's use this in terms of training. So
Yeah,
let's say you post a lift and somebody's like, "Oh, that's not good for him, blah blah blah," and they start just kind of shredding it apart. Um, Ask yourself this question, like, who is this person and should I even care?
yes.
Right? If the answer is I don't know who this is,
Like click
and
on their profile. That is okay to do.
yeah, I
Like,
mean, absolutely, click on their profile, see if you know them, and if you know them, like have a personal conversation with them somewhere else, and ask like, hey, why did you feel the need to do this? Because like it's a training lift, um, and I think that if you don't know them, you gotta ask yourself like, well, why do I care?
right,
Right? If it's a super volatile, shitty commit like statement, you have to deal with that in a different way.
100%.
And to me, I don't engage with those people anymore
No.
because 9 times out of 10, right, what they are seeking is some kind of like argumentative, like just way to kind of be a piece of garbage.
They have something that they want heard, and
Yeah.
they're gonna go about it any which way to get that point heard.
Yeah. And it's kind of like one of those, like when that happens, you just ignore them,
Yeah.
right? If it starts gaining traction. So this is kind of my rule where it shifts. So, and this goes for a business page, anything else, right? In a business page, if somebody like posts up and they're like, I had a terrible experience with this product, I don't recommend it. My next thing to that would be, hey, I'm really sorry to hear that you had a negative experience. I would love to have a conversation with you about your experience and see what we can do to make it better, right? For
Mhm.
you and for everybody else that's involved in our business. And so please send me a DM, right? Would love to have that conversation. That as a business is establishing that we are open to feedback
Yes.
and improvement and acknowledges like, hey, we are not perfect. If you try and hide from those comments, you look to everybody like you're hiding something. I
Yes.
think it's important, but I also think it's important to address it in a professional way that says, hey, like we acknowledge we're not perfect. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Please DM us because it's taking it out of like a public forum. And if somebody actually has a real issue with like your product or your business, they will DM you and then you can have an offline conversation about it. And if that problem gets handled satisfactorily, uh, what I often see is that person will then become an advocate for your business.
100%.
They're going to go out and be like, sometimes they'll even go in and post on the like the initial negative post that they put on your page, and they'll even say something like, "Hey, thanks so much for the conversation that we had about this situation. Uh, the time you took to help me understand and the effort you made to correct this was outstanding. Would definitely recommend working with you guys in the future."
Oh,
Right?
100%.
That's a legit person. The person who, when you say, "Hey, like let's please reach out to me in my DMs," and they're like, "Go F yourself, like your service sucks. I would never." That person literally is just trying to take shots at you.
Yeah.
So that's when you block that person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's when that person gets blocked on your business page. On a personal post, somebody comes in and starts taking shots at you. Like just I just block them immediately. Because
Yeah.
honestly, for me, like that's my personal page. That's my
Right.
personal life. That's my personal stuff. And I don't know how you found me in the first place.
Right. Right. Right.
Right? Like, and I don't know why you're here. Like, this is my page. And yeah, I put it out there, but I'm putting it out there for the people that I know.
Yeah.
Right? The people that I genuinely like have relationships with, whether it's a coach from like across the United States that somehow we connected and we're,
Yeah.
that's cool, or it's a relative or a friend or, what have you. Also being coaches, right? You've experienced this, like people in the gyms that you
Yeah.
coached will find you and then follow you and that's fine. Um, but if somebody comes into that personal space and makes some kind of stupid, shitty comment on that, like we're done.
Yeah.
We're done. Just like we would be done in real life. Like if you came up to me and you're like, you're a fucking asshole. I'm just saying, and it's clearly not looking to engage with you. They're clearly looking to just get a rise out of you. Then at that point, I'm like, okay, man, well, we're done. Like we don't have to be friends. Like we don't have to see each other. We don't have to talk to each other. Also, if you come that way in real life, like, please know there is a certain limit,
100%.
right? Where I'm gonna like be nice and play nice. And then there's past that limit, it turns a little differently.
Oh yeah, no, I mean I've had conversations with like people, yeah, when it comes to like the in-person stuff like that, like I flat out tell people all the time, and like I was like, if I don't like you, like like I like especially in like the way a lot of our reference is going to be the weightlifting space because that's where we spend a lot of our time and things like that. The weightlifting space is one of those situations where I'm always going to be professional and I'm always going to be um I don't want to say courteous, but I will be cordial. Cordial is better. Like I will be
100%.
professional
Yes.
in a professional setting, but like outside of it, like don't try to come up to me like we're friends or something like that. If you've either said or done some heinous shit, like I want no part of it. And especially on the social media, because that was like something I am fully willing to admit I had to learn is like is the difference you're talking about it earlier between like a business page and a personal page. Like I would crack jokes on a buddy's business page, and like I was in college or something like that, or right out of college, and I had that guy come up to me and be like, "Hey man, this is my business. Like I'd appreciate it if you did not make those comments." And I'm like, you know what? Like I get it. Like sorry, it won't ever happen again.
Yeah,
You and just like it's the whole like golden rule mentality. Like just treat people how you want to be treated. Like
yeah,
I wouldn't want somebody to come on to the business, the strength agenda page, and talking shit about a lifter, like somebody's like the shape of somebody's legs or something random like that, right?
yeah,
So like, or making a joke, even if it's in complete jest. So like, I will never go on somebody else's business page and make a complete, joke or jest of something like that. Like it's just one of those situations where treat others how you want to be treated. And then yeah, just like do some background on them. Like, do you know the person? If you don't know the person, it's really easy to just ignore the comment and move on because the chances of you ever interacting with that person in real life is going to be very minimal.
yeah,
But yeah, the blocking stuff has been wild because I feel like people use that as an attention seeking tool as well. Like people will
sure.
comment on something, then they will block you as soon as they comment, and you go to respond and you can't, and then they'll come back and like they'll unblock you so they can comment again. Like, and it's a very weird world that social media has created and stuff.
You know what's funny about that is, it's the people who come in to like attack people personally or attack a business personally, and they get real personal, and so they get blocked, and then they go back to their page and they're like, well, I must have struck a nerve because I got blocked, ha ha ha. Like it's almost like a game for
Yeah,
them
I'll say, yeah,
to get blocked. But guess what? Here's the great thing about that is like if I block somebody, I don't see them anymore.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like I don't see them anymore. They're not part of my circle anymore. And nine times out of 10, 90% of the time, probably higher than 90% of the time, if that person came in and took personal shots at me for something, they don't know me.
yeah,
They're just some random person. Like if they come in and take a personal shot at like, oh, your lift was meh, 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 and it's like, okay, dude, we don't know each other,
yeah.
right? And if we were in the gym together, you're not saying that.
No, 100%.
Right? That's not coming out of your mouth. So we're cool. I'm gonna ignore that comment. If
Yeah,
they come in and they say, "Oh, that your wife's legs are fucking weird," or something like that, and they take a shot at like Rachel,
yeah,
like 100%, like that's just an instant block.
yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Like you don't get to say things like I'm more tolerant about people like coming in and like critiquing me than I am going to be about people coming in and critiquing others that I care about.
yeah,
Um, and like on the strength agenda page, like if you come in and you've got something to say about somebody's lift, okay.
yeah,
Like, okay, you can say something about somebody's lift if you do it in a constructive way or a curious way, right? The curious way is like, hey, I'm just curious as a coach, what is going on with this person's lift here because this is what I see.
yeah,
And then that gives like you or somebody else, right, the ability to come back and be like, absolutely 100%. Yep, what you pointed out, they are definitely pressing out. We've actually talked about this. This is a training lift. They are working on that currently. Cool. That's great, right?
right.
Somebody coming in and being like, yeah, she can lift a lot, but she's built like an Oompa Loompa. Then you're like, okay, well, you know what, dude, you're blocked because you're not productive, you're not helpful, you're just being one of those internet douchebags. And there are so many internet douchebags. And let's also not forget, gang, if you've got a business page, a personal page, and you engage in anything that kind of opens you up to the public, there are a ton of bot farms out there that literally are doing nothing but like scouring profiles for certain phrases, certain topics, and opportunities to spike like negativity. It's not me being a conspiracy theorist. You can
No,
go on and look
really
up,
cool.
like, you can go look up bot farms, and it's crazy the pictures of like the rooms these guys sit in with like hundreds of
Yeah.
like cell phones, and each one has its own thing, and they're literally just sitting there on the computer, like tearing through all of this stuff and fostering this shitty atmosphere.
100%. 100%. I thought you were going to go somewhere else, was where I was pointing, but I like where that went as well. But when you're talking about business and personal, something I wanted to add to that. One of the things that I had to learn early on in my coaching career, I know we've talked about this in other platforms, but social media is no different. You represent not only yourself and your business, but everybody else that ties themselves to that business. So, like, I am very careful about,
Mm,
I am going to be
yes.
100% willing to admit that, like, I do not have the maturity mo a lot of times to not engage with somebody. But when I do engage with folks, I try to be correct about it. Like I don't go to straight like, yeah, well, your mom's a hoe, kind of like insults. I will like stick to the facts at hand. And it's interesting when that engagement occurs because a lot of times they'll try to like deflect and kind of, talk around a subject, and I will just keep bringing it back to the original point that they made. And they're like, no, 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 let's talk about this kind of a thing, kind of a deal. But
Yeah.
keep in mind that when that occurs, I am an extension of the 80 something athletes that I work with. Like my viewpoints and my stances on things are 100% reflective of the people that I work with. You and Jess and Rachel, people who like
Yep.
work with me on stuff. I am 100% like things that I say and do, it 100% affects you guys as well. It affects the business, it affects the athletes, it affects companies that want to work with me and the business and stuff. So it's just one of those other things to keep in mind too. If you are one of these individuals that likes to comment and just like, procure negativity to get your engagement up or to get your likes and your hits and your views,
Yeah.
all that stuff, you are a direct reflection of some of these companies. And if those things and those people and those entities still want to engage with you and interact with you after you're doing this stuff, that's fine. That's not a judgment on that. But it's
Yeah.
just something to keep in mind when you are back and forth in that engagement is you are a reflection of the people that you represent and the things that you represent. So keep that in mind too, sitting there before you hit that little blue arrow to send that message on whatever social media platform you're operating with.
Yeah, I think that, and that's a really good point, and something that I have tried to impart on people that worked under me in other businesses and other organizations is like, yes, your social media is your channel.
Mhm.
However, it is still social. That means
Well,
it's out there for everybody to see. You can set a privacy setting so that nobody can follow you unless you approve them, and that is a wise thing to do if you have some more private things that you talk about on your social media channel. Because if you choose not to, and the business that you are part of comes across your channel,
yep.
or I have seen this literally in businesses that I've worked in, where a person sees something that a coworker posted that is pretty out there, we'll
Mhm.
just say, and they bring it in because they're highly offended by it because what was said was pretty offensive. And they bring it in, and they're like, "Hey, I don't know that I can work with this person because of this." And we're not saying like, you know, what have you. We're talking like up there kind of thing, like way out,
I mean, political.
um,
We just call it what it is.
yeah, like racist, political, like kind of stuff where,
Conspiracy theory type stuff. Like I mean, during COVID, like there was a lot of conspiracy things going on and a lot
yeah.
of tin hat wearing.
But
Just like,
I'll give you, I'll tell you exactly what it was. Like this person uh, had some very like negative, shitty things to say about the LGBTQ community,
yes,
and worked with, and we employed a high number of LGBTQ people, including our COO. And when that person's social media, like they went on a rant about this and it made its way into leadership, and leadership went, no, like
yeah,
that's not who we are as an organization. We choose to be different. So we're going to have to let this person go. Here's the thing people need to remember about that. Your freedom of speech is not freedom from consequences.
yeah. Every time I hear that nonsense about I get freedom of speech, you 100% do. But
Yeah.
like Not going to stop somebody from punching you in the mouth for disagreeing with you.
Nope. You can come up and tell somebody horrible, horrible things. You could go up to somebody and of a different ethnicity and start a massively insane racist rant, and that is freedom of speech, but you're going to face consequences,
100%.
right? That's the thing people don't understand is that like, and this applies to social. It applies everywhere. You have the right in this country to say whatever stupid pea brain shit comes into your brain. You
Yup.
can let it fly outside of your mouth, but it doesn't mean that you get to just la 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 about the rest of your day after you've said it if it's pissed people off. Yes, you can get fired for things. Yes, sponsors will drop you. Look at what happened to so many different athletes across, like, who was it? I'm trying to think of who it was that said or did something and literally lost like everybody. Travis Mayer. Was it
Yes.
Trav? Not, no, not Travis Mayer. Travis Mayer is the super nice, sweet guy, but he was a games athlete and he made some comments and was dropped by like everything and everyone.
Yeah.
He was right. He has the right to have those thoughts and those feelings and those and say those things. But then the companies he worked with had every right to go like, yeah, that's not who we are. That's not what we stand for, and we are no longer going to work with you.
100%.
You
And
can
that,
be mad and you can be upset about that, but the reality is like that's life, man.
yeah,
That's life. And so again, like from a posting standpoint, if you have those thoughts about things and it may not align with who you work for, who you train with, who you train, all those other things, and it's your personal stuff, you may want to think about like, am I going to post this? Does it run me into potential hot water?
Mhm.
And if this is something I'm really like big on and I'm willing to take that risk, okay. But if I'm not, but I still want to post it, well, then maybe you should make your shit private, right? Also, maybe go get some counseling.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
So to wrap this all up, let's bring this home here, land this plane, as they say. When it comes to social media, first and foremost, I think we've created a nice little set of rules here. Wrap this, or to summarize everything. First and foremost, when you're going to post something, if it is you that is doing the posting, or if you're going to respond or retaliate in any sort of way, think to yourself first and foremost, is this something you would say to that individual's face? If the answer
Hmm.
is no, or you even hesitate to say yes, probably shouldn't be posting it, first and
Yeah.
foremost.
Don't post it.
Second, just is it worth your time and energy? Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Just is it worth, like, for me, for instance, I genuinely have now started to like create a little bit of a calculator. Like the 5-10 minutes that it is taken to take me to respond to somebody's comment, because I'm going to edit it and do all this other stuff, is going to take away from me doing putting in another program in the app, or it's going to take away from me doing a video review or responding to a text message or an email or something that I need to, that's more important than I need to do. So focus on your energy and push it appropriately where it needs to go. And then that last thing we are just talking about here, is this affecting people that you represent? Is it going to affect future relationships? I have seen multiple times people post stuff on social media that can be retraced and refound. And when they go to reach out to certain companies and organizations and people to like create some sort of a working relationship, they're like, actually, you did this back in 2022, and we'd rather not affiliate with that kind of a behavior. So those three things, I think, if you keep it in mind, is
Yeah.
like, A, would you say this to their face? If you hesitate or say, no, don't post it. Second, is the worth the time and energy to even engage, respond, or initiate any sort of action like that? And then three, like, who is this affecting outside of you? Because the chances of that being something that is going to occur are a lot higher than you realize. So just if you can keep those three rules in mind, I feel like we make social media a lot better, more positive place. But that's also pie in the sky thinking that I think will I think the downfall of society is really going to be the only thing that's going to, allow that to occur. But with those
Burn it down.
things in mind, do you have anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, just remember, guys, like, and as far as blocking people goes,
Yeah.
right? If they say something that's offensive, just fucking block them. Like that takes you 30 seconds, get them out.
Yep.
they're not worth it. And you know, and this is a whole other conversation we can go on at some point in time, just from a mindset and meditation kind of standpoint. But that sometimes applies in real life too.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Cutting people off is awesome. Get that negative energy out. All right. With that being said, we appreciate you guys. Happy New Year to everybody. Hopefully 2026 brings out more of the positives and the good things that you had going on in 2025 and leaves a lot of the negatives in the past. If not, like it's just do one day at a time,
Yeah.
focus on what you have control over moving forward. As always, thank you for the support. Go to www.thestrengthagenda.com, sign up for our newsletter, sign up for the app, get a 7-day free trial on that. If you want to do just like the month, we also have the special going on where you can purchase a year of training and save a significant amount of money on that. My name is John, or I'm Tom. That is John. We appreciate you guys, and we will see you guys later.
Bye, guys.